Live. Hello, welcome everyone to CASAA Live this
Camera's really high.
Saturday, November 6th, the first November show. Oh God, I don't know why that's exciting to me, but I'm happy that we're finally to November because for me, it means like my crazy work life calms down very soon. So I'm excited to be here in November. But yes, welcome everybody. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for hanging out with us today. We'll get right into some hey, how are yous. Kristin is back this week, so I want to know how Kristin is doing. Welcome
I'm
back.
Yes, my phone's dinging at me for some reason. Thank you. Yeah, good to
Because
be
you're
back.
popular. I mean, everybody knows it's because you're so popular.
Yeah, right.
But how are you? How was
Good,
how was
yeah.
the past couple of weekends and stuff for you?
It's been kind of crazy. Halloween was a lot of fun. Check out my Facebook page. You can see we decorated the whole house up. We were out there. My husband in his creepy mask scaring the kids. And cold's gone. I'm healthy again, which is a very good thing. Knock on wood, it stays that way. What else is going on? I baked keto chocolate chip cookies that are awesome. Those are very good. And I'm very excited about tonight to go see Eternals.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So let me know how it is, but just don't spoil.
Oh, I would never spoil. No spoilers.
Because I'm really excited to see that one as well. I'm a big Marvel fan. I just love the whole cinematic universe. So
me too. I had to see Dune and
okay.
And then this.
Dune. Did you watch it all in one viewing?
Yeah, it's only like
I couldn't. It took me a week because I just kept falling asleep. Dune, that movie is visually, aesthetically beautiful, but I just found it so boring and I kept falling. It took me a week and I watched it in like half-hour segments.
Oh, I was riveted. I love the whole series. I'm very excited for what else is coming out? The new Matrix movie coming out, I think December, and then also the Wheel of Time series is starting on HBO or Stars. It's a whole fantasy fiction book series by Robert Jordan that I read many years ago. We always thought, oh, that would make a great movie or series, and they're doing what looks like the next Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones type quality. So very excited.
Right.
So.
Very cool. I haven't heard of that yet, so now I'm excited as well. What was it called?
Watching TV. The Wheel of Time.
Wheel of Time. I'm gonna have to keep my eye out for that. Awesome. Very excited. I'm glad that you're feeling better. I'm glad that you're healthy and back with us here. Alex, hey, how are you?
Hey, doing all right. I have not seen the new Dune. The previous Dune, I think I watched when I was younger, and it was one of those things I watched when I was like sick on the couch. So it's just my memories of watching it are associated with that. But certainly interested in seeing the new one. I'm looking forward to the live action Cowboy Bebop. So
yes. Unfortunately, many of the previous like anime gone live action movies have been terribly disappointing. All of them, actually, not most. All of them have been really disappointing. But yeah, I'm excited for that as well. Yeah, the original Dune, I'm a big fan of. And this one is just, they're making it into a trilogy. So this is kind of the intro of, it's the first movie. There's a lot of dialogue. Like mind-numbing dialogue. Visually, aesthetically, beautiful movie. Beautiful. I couldn't stay awake. I would put it on every night and I'd make it like another 20-30 minutes in. And then I have to go back through and I have to be like, okay, what's the last thing I remember seeing? And I got to find that spot in the movie.
Oh, see, not at all. And I think that's what I did with the first one. What was that, back in the 80s or the 90s?
Yeah, it's like 84 or something like that.
And that one I just didn't get, but I hadn't read the books yet either. So I was so confused because they just kind of, but I think this is going to be a two-parter, at least with the first book.
And maybe it's only a two-parter. I thought they were making a trilogy out of it.
But there's many books. So there's a long story. You got Children of Dune, and I guess there's a TV series. I'm going to try to find that. I want to watch that. I didn't get to see that on Sci-Fi. So
yeah.
Anyhow. Oh, someone didn't like it though.
Very disappointed in Dune. See, for me, again, I just visually, aesthetically, beautiful, beautiful movie. Amazing. I just couldn't, I wasn't captivated by like storytelling and everything going. I just kept falling asleep. Also, it was every night after work, you know.
Now we're 50.
I'm exhausted at the end of the day anyway. And
Arbitrary Alias did like it. So I thought it was great. I like that they got much more to the character in the backstory than they did in the one in the 80s.
Yeah.
You know, it's got to be in sections. You can't do that unless you'd have an 8-hour movie. So anyhow, we better get going because
I'm about to ask whether anybody in the Dune movie smokes. So I might have beaten this one to death.
I don't think so. Anyways, yeah, let's.
They're all doing.
It's the spice, right?
Spice. Yeah,
yes, spice. Yeah, but not like K2 spice. It's like.
No, it's like a.
I mean, I guess in some parts it seems kind of like they're doing K2 spice. Anyways,
but the government turns this stuff that's very important over to certain particular special interest groups and control it. How can we get Dune into vaping advocacy? Yeah. There we go.
See, the folks on whatever it's New World or whatever the planet is called there. They just need an advocacy organization like CASAA. So CASAA not only needs to be, a U.S. thing, but we need to expand intergalactically. We'll get right on that right after
the galaxy's oldest and largest consumer advocacy organization for tobacco harm reduction
in the universe.
Meanwhile,
we need to team up with Elon and see if he can get us into space.
Meanwhile, back on planet Earth.
Yeah.
I guess technically, are we not the oldest and largest consumer advocacy organization for this in the universe right now?
We're not sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true. I guess we're not sure. I mean, wouldn't they need tobacco cigarettes somewhere else for it to count? Maybe there's like space tobacco. Anyways, we've gone way too far off topic already. Let's hop into some legislation, Alex. Are you ready for it?
Yep.
All right. Tell us all what we need to know about Dune. No, I'm just kidding. Let us know what we need to know about what is going on right now. All the good, the bad, the need to know. What do you got for us this week?
So as usual, at the top of the list is once again the U.S. federal excise tax on nicotine. Emphasis on nicotine because that's what was left in the tax language. Astute readers of the legislation that's not easily accessible will notice that all of the tax hikes on traditional tobacco products, including cigarettes, were removed, and now we're looking at the $53.33 per 1,800 and some change milligrams of nicotine, which works out to about 2.8 cents per milligram of nicotine.
Per milligram per milliliter?
No, per milligram of nicotine.
Period.
So it is based on the total nicotine content of the package or whatever. And this is not exclusive to vapor products. This will include nicotine pouches or anything else. It's taxable nicotine. And of course, this does not extend to smokeless tobacco, cigarettes, most importantly, or cigars or anything like that. They maintain their same tax level going into this. And even though this is being sold as an equivalency tax, if you were to apply this same standard to cigarettes, it would increase the tax on cigarettes by 5 or 6 times. So we're going to talk a little bit more about this at the end of in our deep dive, which may be kind of a shallow dive. But really important to kind of clear up some confusion that I think a lot of people have had over what this new tax bill is and where it is, because last night the House passed the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, which is different. So if you've been playing the Congress Joe Biden home game, then you know that there are 2 different bills here. And actually what happened last night was the progressives in Congress they voted no on the infrastructure package because their understanding, what they thought they had an agreement, or they thought they had an agreement, was that these bills would be voted on together, and that the Build Back Better Act, which has all of the kind of social safety net spending in it, and a lot of progressive items, all of this would happen at the same time. But instead, the House passed just the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act last night. And this does not include the tobacco tax section. So we are in the Build Back Better Act. If you want to comb through this, it is HR 5376. And you can find it on congress.gov. The updated version I checked this morning is not available yet. So if you want to read the updated tax language for nicotine, it's on our call to action, and I can show you that.
So here's the Build Back Smoking Act.
Right, the Build Back
not moved forward yet.
The Build Back Smoking Act, as we're calling it. And here it is on our website. It's the same link that we've always had. We didn't change anything. So if you're a retailer that's put this out on like a QR code or shared the link all over the place, you don't have to change anything. We've just updated our engagement. And here is the bill text. This is updated as well. It's just a PDF of Section 138.520, imposition of tax on nicotine. And here you go. $5.33 per 1,810 milligrams of nicotine. Yeah, there you go. So instead of raising the tax on cigarettes and all the other products, and we'll get into maybe our speculation on why this has ended up this way later on. All that has just been replaced with just taxing nicotine. So anyway, everybody, even if you've done this call to action in the past, we've refreshed everything and updated things. So please send your emails again. You can also use our legislator lookup page and find your representative's contact information, all of them. You don't need these guys, but contact your senators, contact your representatives by phone, and all the talking points are the same. I think they are also available on our call to action in a little drop down thing. So yeah, you can do that. And that is fantastic. That's the call to action at the top. I have Denver on here. I can't remember if I updated this. So yeah, I need to do an update on Denver. There was a hearing on October 27th. So I still have to update. I apologize for not having that prepared for our show today, but we'll come back to that. We have some disappointing news out of Washington County, Oregon. Let me see if I can get to that one here. Washington County, Oregon did enact a flavor ban. Here we go. It was a vote 3-2 in support of. The ordinance takes effect in 30 days. Enforcement will start January 1st, 2022. So that's that. As far as I know, there was sort of one there was one commissioner who was on the fence, and we tried to make sure that people living in their district would send extra messages. But you can send all the emails you want. If people are resistant to science and facts, then they're probably not going to get much further with that. So sorry for Oregon, Washington County, which is, got a lot of people. I think Portland is in Washington County. But usually municipalities that are on their own, sometimes they're not affected by these things. But as far as unincorporated parts of the county, this certainly will apply to you. The next thing that we do have active that isn't disappointing news just yet is Portland, Maine. Portland, Maine is looking at a flavor ban like everybody else. So on Tuesday, November 9th, we're expecting this to be the introduction of the ordinance. This is really early on in the stage of this thing moving forward. So if you live in Portland, Maine, definitely reach out, contact your city councilors, and tell them why this is a bad idea. A similar piece of legislation was passed in Bangor, Maine, and everybody missed it. And so it would be great to push back in Portland, Maine. So, yeah, excuse me. So we're expecting introduction on this coming Tuesday. And hopefully we can get out in front of this thing a little bit and show them that this is a bad idea. So that's 5:30 p.m. This is a remote hearing, and I actually didn't check to see if the agenda was up today, but this is where you'll find it. If you just click on the link on our call to action, you can see exactly what they're doing. So there is that. The next thing, I'm just going to keep Michigan on the rundown until we get into the new legislation being introduced, or until this is a thing. I think it's worth reminding people that the state of Michigan is going to try to move forward with banning flavors, and so I'll just keep bringing it up. In other disappointing news, something that I lost track of and did not put an engagement out for is St. Paul, Minnesota, and this is actually worse than whatever I had read.
Alex, I'm going to pause you for just a second here, because
sure,
we definitely have an echo coming through somewhere.
Is it am I echoing off of someone?
Yeah, I believe so. I just turned my volume way down.
Well, I don't hear it on your end.
Okay.
Well, I'll mute myself.
Okay.
Go ahead. And
is that better?
Yeah, it's gone.
Okay, good.
Is that my speaker then?
It's coming through on.
I'll turn mine down.
Okay, carry on. Trudge forth, sir.
So again, in more disappointing news, St. Paul, Minnesota did enact its ordinance, which I think they already had a flavor ban. I had an article up here earlier. Here's the ordinance from St. Paul. And it's worth noting here, I think one of the most severe things about this ordinance is that it establishes a minimum kind of per unit price for smokeless tobacco, snus, and cigarettes, which is like $10. So it's like New York City. New York City has a $10 minimum for sales of cigarettes. I think it's 10, or it might have been bumped up to 15 recently. Cigarettes in New York City are already outrageously expensive, which is why most of them are sold in an underground economy. So
yeah, most of them come out of somebody's backpack.
I mean, if that's how it is, and I can't imagine a different result in St. Paul, Minnesota, where there was a file photo on an article showing the price of cigarettes at like $5.60 a pack. Of course, that was from 2015. There were also, I think, Mark 10 was on the shelves, and so were Camel Crushes, which they can't sell Camel Crush anymore, right?
I feel like I've recently seen here in New York Camel Crushes on the shelves.
All right, well, I don't know.
I could be wrong. I don't spend a whole lot of time staring at the power wall anymore. So
yeah, I don't have much reason to go to convenience stores. I don't drive so much, and I don't smoke, so I don't have much reason to go in there.
But let us know, anybody in chat, if you've recently seen Camel Crushes.
But the convenience store up the street from me does sell Skull Snus, and they sell Zin and On, which is a new thing. So I may be going up there more frequently. The last thing to bring in here is Massachusetts. This is an interesting couple of bills. Actually, there was a committee hearing on November 3rd, and I think they had I want to say 27 tobacco-related pieces of legislation. I haven't sifted through all of them, but there are two that would repeal the ban on menthol And it also allows for the sale of flavored vapor products in adult-only establishments for on-site consumption only. And there is an important exemption in here for products that do receive market authorization from FDA. So Massachusetts may be moving towards something a bit more like New York. Excuse me. But the linchpin here is getting PMTA authorization. So just wanted to bring that up. The bill numbers, if anybody is interested. I don't know why I still have St. Paul up here. Sorry about that. We're looking into this as to whether or not this is something that CASAA is able to support. We would prefer that the restriction be removed entirely, but something that does open it up and includes the exemption for PMTAs is a step in the right direction, kind of. It doesn't go far enough, but
like a baby step backwards in the right direction. I don't know how else to really word that.
It's something like a drunk baby step in
Oh
some direction.
God. Yeah.
So the bill numbers are H2406 and S1433 in Massachusetts, and you can find those on the Massachusetts website. We'll probably be putting more information about this maybe soon. So we'll see. And on a relatively positive note there, and that is the end of the legislative rundown.
Right on. Did you guys get all that? Everybody out there get all that? All right, I hope so. If not, you'll just have to rewind and rewatch. Replay crew will catch up. Anyways, moving swiftly along, if we are ready to do some take threes, are you guys ready?
Okay.
Cool. Let's do the thing. Okay, who's going first?
We did not establish that. Well, no. Alex, see, this is what happens when I'm gone for 2 weeks.
All right, I volunteer. Just because my take is well with outside the U.S. So we'll start further away and we'll get closer to us. Hong Kong. This is a Vaping 360 article from Jim McDonald. A few weeks ago, we linked to a South China Morning Post article on our blog for anybody who caught that. Jim does an excellent job of expanding on that, so I wanted to share his article as well, and I'll drop a link to this article in the chat because I don't think that we've actually shared this article anywhere. But Hong Kong has finally banned the sale of vaping products more than 5 years after a ban was first proposed. The law passed the Legislative Council Thursday. This was out on the 21st, so a few Thursdays ago, by a margin of 32-3, according to that article that we had linked to in our blog. It makes it illegal to sell, manufacture, import, or promote vaping and heated tobacco products. It does not criminalize personal use, and it is unclear how the ban will affect vaping manufacturers that ship products from Hong Kong ports. So yeah, the big thing here, I guess why I kind of wanted to bring this up is, first of all, just the absurdity of banning these products to begin with. And I don't know how much time I need to spend talking about that because that's kind of what we do here every week. But Shenzhen, China is directly north of Hong Kong. It's the next region right to the north of Hong Kong. And for anybody who's familiar with hardware, I don't have a percentage, but it's probably roughly north of 90% of all vaping hardware, e-cigarette hardware, comes out of Shenzhen, China. It's the manufacturing capital of the world for vapor products. And how this is going to affect shipping and exports and imports for vapor products around the rest of the world is, I think, the biggest question here, because it's like Jim goes on to say, it is unclear. We've got a online ban here, a shipping ban, USPS shipping ban. We've got other things in this country, other carriers that have, decided to hop on the bandwagon with that. So we have our own issues here when it comes to shipping and receiving vapor products. But if Shenzhen, China can't ship their products out of Hong Kong, that also is probably going to pose another big hurdle for countries around the world getting their products. I'm sure that they will find a way somewhere, but it's definitely a major hang up there. So I guess my biggest take on this is Hong Kong. What? Why? I guess we have a lot of reasons why, but horrible idea. And I'm glad that it does not criminalize personal use, but I can only imagine what the illicit market in Hong Kong is going to be like being neighbors with Shenzhen. You know?
Be pretty easy to get it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's Shenzhen is the region directly north of Hong Kong. So yeah, this is just something I wanted to put out there. This is kind of just my take for the week for anybody who wasn't familiar with what was going on over there and how that may affect imports around the world, including obviously here.
And to do that I think that was from a couple weeks ago. So I think that was like right after FDA authorized.
Yeah, it was right after FDA
the View Solo.
Yes, authorized marketing for the View Solo. So like while we just started authorizing these products, Hong Kong just bans it all. Again, though, it did take 5 years, more than 5 years after the ban was first proposed. I'm not sure exactly. He does have a link here for that, and maybe we can maybe I can pull this back up and we can see. Oh, he links back to a previous article from June 6, 2016. When they had first proposed banning. So it definitely took a while for Hong Kong to move forward with that, but unfortunately they have. And again, that may have some serious implications for how Shenzhen ships products to the rest of the world.
Somebody's asking, does the Hong Kong ban language include shipping or only selling? I believe it's only selling.
It includes manufacturing, selling, importing. Hang on, now I got to get back to it really quick. It makes it illegal to sell, manufacture, import, or promote vaping and heated tobacco products. And then Jim goes on to say it is unclear how the ban will affect vaping manufacturers that ship products from Hong Kong ports.
Right.
So that's the best answer I have for you there. As far as exporting and shipping goes, it's just kind of unclear. And if Jim updates or if I find out more about what that looks like going forward, I will definitely revisit that here and we can kind of update everybody. So that's where we're at.
And then halfway around the world, England is about to basically start approving e-cigarettes for prescription use.
Sure, sure. That's
basically encouraging doctors to do that. Just what's going on in the world when it comes to vaping is just
it's
mind-boggling.
That's why we're here, right? Alex and I last week talked about the UK and the prescription. I believe that was my take last week. So yeah, wild times we live in right now. Anyways, that's my take for the week. I pass the torch on to whoever is ready and willing to receive it.
Well, since Alex is kind of leading into our deep dive, I should just go then.
Oh, I was going to go with the geographic theme.
Do you want to do that? Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
so I'm picking up in an event organized by folks in Southeast Asia, and this is obviously a global issue. This week, starting on Monday in the United States. In other parts of the world, it's actually Sunday, and for us, for them, I'm not going to get into the time thing. This will thoroughly confuse Logan.
I literally say every week I'm terrible at this.
Yeah, don't confuse poor Logan.
But in the United States,
perpetually confused.
If you are interested, there is a way to stream Scope. This is the streaming consumers on point everywhere, and this is effectively a digital counter protest for the COP9 Framework Convention on Tobacco Control gathering, which is, I believe, being done remotely this year. And there are some.
What does COP stand for? It's like something of parties, right?
It's a conference of parties.
It's
a UN thing, and so everything is a COP, and it's So right now, I think for the climate change conference, it's COP26, and so that's how you just have to be in the know. That's how all this works anyway. And for the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, we are on COP9. I think this happens like every 2 years. And I think this may have been delayed because of the pandemic. It was supposed to happen last year and it got pushed back to 2021. Now they're doing it remotely, which you would think that if everybody is gathering remotely, that would open up access. And, you could just sort of tune in and watch delegates talk about how much they hate tobacco and people who smoke and use tobacco. But no, you can't, because it is largely held in secret. Now, at the beginning of this, however, we are able to see some statements from delegates. This is a woman from the UK, and I don't know if there's any benefit or drawback from this, but I did watch her sort of opening statement to the conference. And she did, of course, mention that the UK is moving forward with promoting vaping as an alternative to smoking, and sort of highlighting the things that the UK has done. The UK has adopted some of the best practices from the Framework Convention, and in the way of high taxes on tobacco products, place bans, etc. They have the stop smoking services there. Anybody who follows Louise Ross on Twitter knows that she's been involved with. She's one of the early kind of converts. She comes from the background in tobacco control and was educated herself and got educated about vapor products, and she has been instrumental in offering vapor products through the stop smoking services in the UK. And so, as I was saying, the UK has sort of adopted all of these things with it's not really an exception, because the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control does note that harm reduction is part of a tobacco control strategy. It's just apparently people have wild ideas about what harm reduction actually means.
Quitting. That's their idea of harm reduction. Just quit.
So, but I encourage people at least to watch her video, maybe give it a like. You can like and dislike these presentations on YouTube. There is or was a full rundown. I'll find somebody's tweet. I think CAFRA, that is the Southeast Asian Consumer Advocacy Group. They tweeted out. If you're not following CAFRA on Twitter, go ahead and follow them to get updates about scope and of course other things. But they have the sort of the compilation from the
PHRA, right?
Yeah, it's a PH.
We'll be doing some tweeting about it and stuff too, since you and Danielle will be presenting and
yes,
all that sort of stuff,
and I will get to that, of course. Where did I lost my so here, I don't know if this is going to show up very well on screen. No one can read this, but this is the schedule. You can't see it, but we have the CASAA panel on so everything is in Hong Kong time. Just remember that everything's in Hong Kong time, and so by Monday,
Hong Kong
time. Hey, yeah, we got that connected there. By Monday, it will actually be Tuesday there, so that's why it says Tuesday on the schedule. And Danielle and I will be doing an hour block on the live stream. We're going to be reviewing the MSA, which Danielle has done a lot of research on that. Obviously, hopefully people have seen the videos that she's produced about this. And I will be reviewing the FDA regulations and how this is affecting things. We've noticed, I think people around the world are a bit confused with what's going on in the United States. So we're offering this hour of reviewing these things just to kind of bring everybody up to speed and inform them as to what's going on here in the States. Also, later in the week, so it'd be like Wednesday, 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be hosting a panel with other consumer advocates, largely sort of, getting to know the people behind the consumer advocacy, certainly pushing back on the narrative about tobacco companies basically we're all a bunch of front groups for tobacco companies, which is total nonsense. There is certainly some of that going on, but you can't say that about all of us. We are very much amateurs and passionate people about this. There isn't a single person here at CASAA that comes from a government relations background or is trying to make a career out of this. So anyway, that'll be
if we could.
that'll be more of just a discussion with some other panelists from around the world. I have Jan Walsh from AVCA New Zealand, Peter Paul Dater, I believe is that Vapers Philippines, and Craig Hubbard from Australia. Australia, by the way, as I don't know, I'm sure a lot of people know, we have some Australian viewers here in the chat. I'm sure who could add some details to this. Australia doesn't have a national consumer advocacy group. It's just been like a couple of people doing what they do. So that'll be, we'll have some interesting discussion.
Breeze Tones, Adam here in chat is one of our friends down under, who's also a fantastic advocate. But yeah, I didn't know that actually, that Australia doesn't have a major consumer.
I think it's because they have a lot of vocal people on Twitter, and we're on Twitter a lot, so we see them and kind of assume that they were part of some.
Yeah, I didn't know that they didn't have any kind of
organization,
established group.
Yeah,
get on that, Adam. What are you doing, man?
So anyway, we'll drop the link to all of these, to the schedule and the logo, any of the other stuff for Scope. Just to read a description from a release that was put out earlier this week, in case you're wondering what Scope is. Scope is a round-the-clock international broadcasting event taking place throughout COP9. The 5-day live stream from 8 to 12 November will feature world-leading THR experts and consumer advocates for safer nicotine products. Scope will be simulcast on YouTube and Facebook. Despite being shut out of COP9, vapers have vowed they will not be silenced. And as I was saying at the beginning of this, COP9, these framework convention on tobacco control meetings happen largely in secret. I think Clive Bates has written about this quite a bit. A lot of the international folks have really covered this because they are directly affected by what the World Health Organization does. In the United States, we've sort of already adopted this stuff on our own. We're the U.S. We have decided that we're all about rugged individualism, despite the rampant conformity across whatever you think you are. And so we've already implemented a lot of this stuff. We've signed on to the treaty, but we haven't ratified it, which is kind of no point because we have FDA regulations. So anyway, the conference has become more and more exclusive year over year or meeting over meeting, to the point where even the media is excluded from this. And I think one of the examples that was brought up, I can't remember where I read this, but they have gone so far as to eject a representative from Interpol. They kicked the cops out of the meeting because of some sort of coordination between Interpol and tobacco companies with regard to illicit trade. So it has gotten to the point where if you are verifiably involved with tobacco companies, you are conflicted and you can't attend. If there is the perception that you are involved with tobacco companies, which includes being a consumer of tobacco or nicotine products, you're excluded from the meeting. So this means that consumers are not represented there. It is simply ideologues, state-level ideologues from all over the world getting together and talking in relative secrecy about the policies they hope to implement, and basically how to screw people, and not really help them all that much.
Wow.
Hopefully,
do we not know who? I'm sorry. Do we not know who, like, from the States is there because it's so secret? Like, do we not know who in tobacco control? Like, are PAVE moms there, or
no? I don't think so. Certainly. Well, I mean, it's kind of funny. I mean, the PAVE moms might come to find out that they are too conflicted in order to attend. I believe there was somebody that
sorry, Meredith.
There was somebody that did some digging on. I think one of their husbands works for an ad agency or a PR firm that did some work for a tobacco company at some point. So that tiny connection may be enough to conflict them out of attending. I don't know. There's kind of a joke out there, when you get into this whole like strictly enforcing conflicts of interest and so on, ultimately at some point everybody is sort of conflicted. Like arguably, China should be, ejected from this meeting because it is effectively the world's largest tobacco company. Any state-owned, any country that is essentially a state tobacco company, according to these rules of conflict of interest, should probably be ejected, which includes,
realistically, right? Like anyone here who takes a government issued check,
pretty much, yeah,
would be a conflict of interest because of all of the tobacco money that goes into the general fund, which pays those salaries, those paychecks, those etc.
Yeah. So tobacco taxation, apparently not a conflict, according to the FCTC, but in my mind, it clearly is, and it should be stated all the time. Our country generates X amount of billions of dollars from tobacco taxes. Yeah, we did it to discourage people, but really, historically, in the United States, tobacco taxes are to fund projects, not health policy. So
very little is spent.
This is outrageous. People, you need to understand how outrageous this is, because these are the people who are going and advising countries of what to do. They're this is part of the WHO thing, isn't it? This is all part of WHO.
Yeah, this is World Health Organization.
This just feels very like dark, secret, like cult ritual. Like I just imagine like black hoods and like candles around like a round table.
Yeah.
Like that's what comes to mind. Like
eyes wide shut.
Yeah. So if you get to COP9 early enough, you can catch the human sacrifices. But since
we're
none
all
of us
human sacrifices, every person who smokes.
Yeah. So since none of us are invited or allowed to attend, tune in to Scope next week. Lots of content. People from all over the world are going to be presenting, and this should be a good thing. I think I've sort of beaten this into the ground as far as why this is important, why people should tune in. Hopefully, this will generate some interest among the media, who largely just doesn't seem to be all that interested in this until they get some sort of statement from whoever. But media is invited. I shouldn't poo-poo the media ahead of time. Sorry, guys. But hey, media, come on. Check out Scope. A lot of content there that you're not going to get from the FCTC. Number one, because you're not invited. And number two, because it's all just nonsense anyway. So
and what time did your and Danielle's translate to U.S. time, like at least Eastern? What time does that translate? I know it's all in Hong Kong time, but what did you figure out yet? How that translates to? Okay.
Yeah. So on Monday, Danielle and I will be live at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and as I said, we will drop the links for the live stream event on YouTube. There's also a Facebook event, so everybody can tune in, comment, chat, and learn.
So that'll be 4 p.m. over on that other coast. And really quick, you had brought up Danielle's videos and things that she's done in the past. So I just wanted to share that link to the Truth About Vaping YouTube page. This is the stuff that Danielle has done, and I believe her last one was about Juul lawsuits. There's definitely been some other ones about the MSA and taxation and things like that. They are all excellent. I believe there's 4 now, and Danielle puts a lot of work into those. So I just wanted to drop that link there as well.
And I dropped Louise Ross's at Granny Louisa in the chat as well for Twitter, and the CAFRA. That's also in the chat, and I'll try to remember to put that in the description box afterwards too. Make sure you follow them. Share this. You know, that's how we get attention. So go there, go to the CAPA right now, retweet their stuff. Everybody who can do that. You know, this is what grassroots has to do, guys. We need everybody, all hands on deck, getting this stuff out. So go do that right now if you're watching.
On that note, on that note, if you are prone to Twitter, there are hashtags to take over on next week, all next week. So it'll be
hashtag takeovers are like one of my favorite things.
He gets excited.
It'll be hashtag COP9FCTC and hashtag COP9. So share all the information that we, share around, share your comments, share your criticism. And hopefully that, as Kristin noted, will generate some interest from media, and hopefully we'll get some coverage.
Yeah, tag twat. I can't even talk. Tag at came out twat. But media people, whoever you can, New York Post or whatever, you can tweet at. Kind of tag them in there too, and get some, try to get some attention from the news media if you can.
Yep.
So we don't have the budgets. Bloomberg isn't giving us crap.
It's not really a take, but that is my take for the week.
I made him do that, you guys, because he hasn't been talking about it. So it's not his fault.
I was there. She twisted his arm behind his back. Alex, you talk about that.
I'm such a bully. Logan let him out of the locker, and I was yelling at Logan.
Yeah, even I got it, you guys. It was terrifying.
You guys. All right, my turn. Now, I'm kind of doing a throwback here to about 2 weeks ago. And I need to make sure I'm sharing the right screen. I cannot talk today. What is my problem?
Welcome back, Kristin.
Right? What's going on? I am talking about the, and I need to go back to, where am I? Is this the current one? This is the current one.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, there was a study that just came out. I'm not even going to bother with that. 2 weeks ago that essentially said that they did this huge study and found out that vaping does not keep people from relapsing to smoking. And it was just the dumbest study. It got some immediate attention. I went through and I looked at it, and this Dr. Brad Rodu, he's got his right here. And then there's another one, and I will put these links in the description later. This is the actual study itself, I believe. Yeah, they looked at the PATH study. And then this is a response from Professor Hayek, who actually some of his work was used as a citation in this study. And he's like, this study is horrible. It says the press release badly misreported the study findings. It says that smokers who quit but substitute e-cigarettes are more likely to relapse, but the study found no such effect. And then the AVM did a really good post, and I will link this one too, where they pretty much took a CNN news article about the study and basically said, here, I fixed it for you. Where they
this looks like every English paper that I ever wrote.
But so that's a good thing to look at too. And they hadn't really, they didn't really break it down as much as I did on our Twitter thread, because I actually did a whole Twitter thread on it. And I think, and actually I will bring up that CASAA blog, because in there I looked at, there were so many things that they, first of all, it's a cross-sectional. Okay. So you're looking at a person, this X time, this X time, this X time. Okay. And it doesn't ask a lot of important questions. Questions like, okay, so you relapsed, and they considered relapsing having even 1 or 2 puffs in the past year. That's considered a relapse. I mean, how is that even a relapse? If you have 1 or 2 puffs, it also completely ignored just the fact that the people who, I think, is this my, yeah, it ignores the people who were using the vapor products, e-cigarettes, a lot of them weren't even planning on trying to quit. I mean, they just happened to try vaping and then quit. Accidental vapors. I was one of them. And so they don't weigh that. I mean, that's something really important to weigh, because unless people use the product, unless they use the service, they're not ever going to quit. So you can't ignore the fact that a lot of these people wouldn't have even been trying to quit, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. They also said, so they said in their own, they like sort of debunk themselves too. It says, like I said here, and this was my Twitter thread that I kind of condensed together or threw together for the actual blog post, so you can read this. It's from 2 weeks ago. I said, they even noted that those who scored the highest for dependency and were most likely to relapse were also the most likely to try vaping. So what does that mean? Okay, so you've got people who have tried everything else to quit. They've got the highest dependency. They found it the hardest to quit. So they're going to be the ones who are going to be the most likely to relapse. So you're already looking at the highest risk people of relapsing. They found that those were going to be the people most likely to try vaping. So you've already got a specialized group here. And then they're comparing that to a general group of people who quit cold turkey, who you tend to be the people with the lowest incidence of, because if you can quit cold turkey, you generally don't have as strong of a dependency. And again, this does not take into account the fact that some of these people weren't even trying to quit. They just did. But the questions on the survey can't look at that. Again, it's what were you doing at this point? What were you doing at this point? What were you doing at this point? So that was the thing that just kind of, this is telling you nothing. If anything, and I saw this a lot because, who was it? American Council on Science and Health, they said the new study muddies the vaping debate. And boy, does it. I mean, it really muddies things, because it makes things unclear. And then the news reports, like Dr. Radu says, Radu, I keep messing up his name.
Radu.
But at least I corrected myself. Sorry, Dr. Radu. Like he said, it's if you torture the data long enough, it will confess to anything, and that's what they did. They literally tortured. So I will put the links to this one. He does a couple of his kind of take on, like he brings up the point that 1 or 2 puffs on a cigarette's a failure. It says, using this yardstick, about 50% of former smokers who weren't using a tobacco product at year 1 were still totally cigarette-free at year 2, compared with 42% of those who had been using e-cigarettes or tobacco at year 1. It's kind of convoluted because they're looking at year 1, year 2, year 3. But if you really look at the numbers, it didn't show what they said it showed.
Right, there's a significant.
They use some we're going to use this number for the people who vaped and use this number for the people who quit. Plus, they lumped people who vaped with people who use non-combustible tobacco products. I mean, how can hello? That's not looking. Then say, well, it's vaping that failed. It's like, well, you're looking at the wrong thing.
I would also, sorry to interrupt. I would also say, I don't think it's that uncommon among vapors, after a year or 2 or maybe more, to just ask for puffs off a friend's cigarette. Like, what is it? What is it? Like, do I still not like it? Or, I forgot what smoking was like. Let's try it again. Like that. Does that really mean that you've relapsed? It's insane.
Yeah.
I know. I don't know how many people I've talked to who are like, after a year, I had a cigarette just so I could affirm for myself how much I hate them. You know what I mean? Like, countless.
I didn't even need a cigarette. I just think I took a puff. I think my husband was still struggling at that point, and I took a puff off. I'm like, let me taste that once. And because I never did stop liking the smell. I don't know why. I still like the smell of cigarette smoke. But the taste, no, I couldn't. One puff and I'm like, oh God, I can't. So yeah, exactly. So that really ups the numbers there, 1 or 2 puffs. It's ridiculous. But here's the thing, is that even though those people relapsed, okay, they were the people who vaped more than any other of the cohort. The ones who were vaping were associated with a higher rate of re-quitting for 3 months or more after the relapse. So they just went right back to vaping again, as opposed to the other ones. So what's worse? Okay, I'm vaping, I relapse with 2 cigarettes, and then I go right back to vaping again, or I quit cold turkey, I go back to cigarettes, and I'm smoking again now.
Yeah.
You know,
you really have to have an abstinence only based mindset to consider something as few, a few puffs or even 1 or 2 cigarettes to be a relapse. One, I'm not a huge fan of the word to begin with,
right?
But a good explanation for this, and I don't remember who this was years ago. Somebody kind of told me this, and they're like, when you look at it that way, that's the equivalence of, your children in school take tests, spelling tests, math tests, whatever that may be, and they get one question wrong. You didn't get 100, you got a 99. Fail. That's a fail. You just failed. You didn't get 100, you got one question wrong, you failed. And that is the equivalence in a lot of rehabilitation programs and things like that, not only for smoking, but drugs across the board, alcohol. One drink and you've relapsed, you failed, you start your program over again, you go through the whole thing. And Alex is nodding his head. He knows exactly what I'm talking about here. And that's just, that's absurd. It's really just a terribly gross way to treat any kind of or to approach any kind of dependence or addiction issue. Because again, that's the equivalence of if your child or you or whoever, you're in college, whatever it may be, you're taking a test and you got that one question wrong, you failed.
Right.
Now you have to start over.
Right.
It's just
infuriating.
Yeah. I'm hot just thinking about
it's infuriating.
But yeah, that's that equivalence. So for anybody out there who's like, oh yeah, if you had a cigarette, you relapsed. No.
Yeah,
no. Just dismiss that thought. We are all human beings, and one whatever puff, one whatever it may be, does not discount recovery or discount the path that you are on. So
right.
I just wanted to address that really quick.
And I think another thing that Dr. Radu said was okay, there's another issue with the media statements. One of the spokespersons or researchers said smokers who switch to e-cigarettes should have much lower relapse rates to cigarette smoking. That ignores the fact that 769 former smokers in his study used no tobacco at year 1, while 459 different former smokers used e-cigarettes and tobacco. Both produced complete and 3-month abstinent rates that are similar, and both added to the former smoker pool. It doesn't matter how they got there. Throughout the article and his public comments, he referenced smokers who switched to e-cigarettes. That is misleading. PATH collects information on aids that former smokers used to quit. He says his group published a thing on there. If you're not following Dr. Radu, please do. Anyhow, the only information they reported was whether smokers at year 1 were using or not using e-cigarettes or tobacco. By ignoring the quitting information, they undercut the positive results for e-cigarettes and distorted the public health message. So, and then one thing that I said too, and the other thing I found a problem with was this being a cross-sectional observational study. They can't determine if those who vaped would have made any quit attempts if they hadn't tried vaping. Obviously, somebody who buys NRT is making a quit attempt. And obviously, somebody who quits cold turkey is making a quit attempt. It's not obvious that somebody who buys a vapor product is making a quit attempt. And that's a huge factor that they need to start paying attention to and acknowledging. Again, the whole accidental. If e-cigs had come out as quitting devices, I may have tried it, but maybe not, because I had pretty much, by the time I bought my first device, said, nothing's ever worked. I've always gone back to smoking. I'm just going to die smoking, and vaping did the trick. So as I said, a product or method can only be successful if it's used. Many using vapor products had no intention of using other methods. So the fact that any of those vaping with no intention to fully switch remain smoke-free for the study duration isn't very important. So that's a huge finding they found. If they would have asked that question, were you trying to quit smoking when you bought this vapor product? Yes or no? The people who said no, those are people who would otherwise still be smoking. And now they're not. Even if their percentage is smaller than the people who quit cold turkey or who are trying to quit, that they vaped and they relapsed or whatever. But the ones, that one group, we don't even know about them. We can't even find them because they don't ask those questions in the study. But that one group of the people who say, I wasn't even trying to quit, but I am still quit at year 2, that's a huge group that never would. I mean, that makes vaping so much better than all the other things if you think about it from that sense. Am I explaining that right?
Yeah. So essentially this study really doesn't show anything at all and misses all the nuance that it needs.
It just so misses the point. I mean, because they don't know about it, you know. Yeah. But anyhow, that's my rant take.
I would like to take this opportunity and maybe informally start a promotional campaign to encourage people to use nicotine gum in places where they can't smoke, just so that we can kind of further conflate this data and this whole discussion about, like, if you use nicotine gum, you're obviously trying to quit smoking. I'd like to encourage people to just not make a quit attempt, just use it to circumvent smoking bans,
sure.
Which is part of what I did for several years.
Or lozenges or any
of the NRT, you can totally use it for other reasons besides quitting, and go ahead and start doing that.
Yeah,
that's my promotional campaign.
Or while you're in the bar that you can't smoke at.
Yeah,
while you're having a drink. I don't know how well mint Nicorette is going to go with your IPA, but
probably about as good as mint any gum.
No, so. But still, sure, absolutely.
I have to give somebody a ridiculous treat, and I'll be back.
That's the sign that we are moving swiftly along now. Excellent take. Thank you for that, Kristin. Into our, as Alex so eloquently put it earlier, shallow dive. Taxes and dog treats. That is what is on the agenda today. Taxes and dog treats.
I'm back.
You're back. Well, okay, we got the dog treats out of the way.
Yep.
Was this another bacon wrapped bone?
Yeah, I think it's
that poodle loves those.
I think it's actually chicken. It's chicken wrapped, but it looks like prosciutto ham.
Okay.
So whatever.
That's confusing, but to the dog, I'm sure it's just delicious.
Tractor Supply.
Tractor Supply. That's where I buy my gloves. They have a good selection of gloves. We're not here to promote Tractor Supply. Let's get into some taxes. All right, Alex.
So
how deep are we diving?
Yeah, so I don't know how deep we can dive. We talk about this all the time. Taxes are really high taxes meant to discourage people from using safer nicotine products is totally inappropriate, and I think we can all agree on that. But I figured, as I sort of noted in the beginning, I think there's maybe some details here. I'm going to try to kind of suss out like how there's a lot of speculation here because we don't have any insider information, like in Dick Durbin's office, who is, someone who's been proposing this whole tax equivalency thing for years now. But just so people understand, I kind of wanted to show the math here on how I've come to this conclusion that the tax on nicotine is actually 5 to 6 times larger than what is applied to cigarettes. And so taxes on tobacco are sort of divided into, like, I think 2 or 3 categories. You have weight-based is what it sounds like. You have ad valorem tax, which is like wholesale taxes. It's a percentage of like manufacturer's price or whatever. Some people like the ad valorem taxes because they naturally adjust with inflation. And whereas weight-based taxes stay pretty much the same. And between the manufacturers, one prefers ad valorem for certain products and another prefers weight-based for other products. And so it's kind of it's just a debate among tobacco companies and lawmakers as to what they're going to apply and where. But the tax on cigarettes is a per unit tax. So it's based on packs. And the federal excise tax on cigarettes is $1.01. Now, previously, the previous language in this bill that was stripped out would have doubled that tax to $2.02 per pack, and then raise all of the other tobacco taxes up to this nonsense idea of equivalency. It's not equivalent; it's actually higher. And so, I've heard a couple of different explanations as to how they arrived at the tobacco tax on cigarettes. That it's based on nicotine yield, which is remarkably lower than nicotine content. But from what I was kind of reading before we came on, it's just a per unit thing. It's very convenient. You just say, you tax per stick or per pack or per carton, whatever, and that's just an easy, convenient way to do it. And so I've stuck with, it's a unit tax on cigarettes at the federal level, $1.01. But the proposed tax on nicotine, which is still a kind of a per unit tax. I guess you could say it's a weight based, but it's milligrams. And so per milligram, the tax on vapor products, or the tax on nicotine, which is in vapor products or nicotine pouches or any of other new nicotine product that's not tobacco leaf based, is 2.8 cents per milligram. Actually, I have my number written wrong here. It's 2.8 cents per milligram. And so if you look at the average nicotine content of one cigarette in the United States, it is 10 to 12 milligrams per cigarette. I think they go as high, like Newport's up there. I want to say it's like 15 milligrams in a Newport. I'm not sure.
I just know the average is
yeah, I'll stick with the average.
12 is what I've always known as the
average. There's not much instructive about highlighting the upper end here, at least for taxation discussion purposes. So between 10 and 12 milligrams. So you take that, you multiply it by 20, and you come up with refuting the lie that a Juul pod has more nicotine than a pack of cigarettes. Because the total it's 200 to 200 and something odd milligrams in a pack of cigarettes. And so that would bring, if this was a per milligram tax on a pack of cigarettes, that would bring the total federal tax before it even gets to New York or some other crazy state where the tax is like $3 or $5. The federal tax would be $5.60 up to $6.72, 5 to 6 times the current tax on cigarettes. And all of the math wizards out there can add all your decimal points and fractions and tell me how I'm undershooting that number as it is. But so that's the math on this, and that's why I continue repeating that this is actually higher than the tax on cigarettes, just making this all the more unfair. And so that's kind of bringing us to the discussion portion of our relatively deep or shallow dive on taxes here. Why was the nicotine tax left in and all of the other tax hikes left out? And I think I'm just noting that I don't know that either of you have any insider information. So we'll just throw out the disclaimer that this is a lot of speculation on our part, but Of course based on our experience in this area. And certainly I'm sure some of the other socially justice-minded people out there this may resonate with. Just to throw it out there, my feeling on this is that the reason why nicotine taxes were left in is because we are woefully underrepresented in Congress. We don't have major companies fighting on our behalf. Tobacco companies, I think, are doing some pretty easy math and looking at the products that make them the most money, and are, perhaps looking at a tax like this and saying, well, we know that taxes on vapor products are coming. We know that taxes on other nicotine products are coming. There may not be much that they can do about this. On the other hand, this may not even get down into the lobbying trenches. This is something where, it's an optics thing. This is Democrats looking tough on crime, to use a phrase from the past, crime bill. Which Joe Biden was a champion of. But ultimately, cigarettes are the most popular tobacco product in the world ever. And Joe Biden did not actually campaign on kill the poor. So I think, taking out the cigarette tax is sort of in their interest in attempting to keep a campaign promise. And also, when you look at the across the range of people who have adopted vapor products, I think historically vapor products, when they came, I don't know what the first e-cig you bought was, Kristin, but you've been vaping the longest out of the three of us. I do remember, some of the old school vapors who bought their e-cigarette for the first time paid around $100 for a cigarette. And so this was something that was pretty much limited to more affluent white people who were able to afford these products. And so early adopters were not necessarily low income people. And so there is an argument to be made that raising taxes on vapor products doesn't necessarily disproportionately affect the poor, kind of taking the devil's advocate side of things. Although we do know that with proper education, I think people will understand that over a long enough time period, vaping is much cheaper than smoking. It's just that that upfront cost, I think, tends to dissuade a lot of people. And now, of course, if this tax is enacted, it will discourage even more people from trying to quit smoking. So anyway, I threw that out there, hopefully kick that off, and interested to hear your thoughts about this.
Oh yeah, and I just wanted to kind of piggyback off of last week. We talked about in the UK and their kind of prescription model that they're moving towards, obviously still having a consumer model as well. But that idea of that upfront cost, one of the great things about the UK moving forward with that and being able to receive e-cigarettes through the NHS is that upfront cost does dissuade a lot of people. And I think that's one of the arguments to be made too for like why disposables and things like that can be a good thing because they're relatively cheap and a easy to use way for people to start. But yeah, that upfront cost, for a $40, $60 starter kit and a bottle of e-liquid, things like that can definitely dissuade people. Yeah, the taxes. I don't even think it needs to be said, but taxing people for using a product to better their health is outrageous to begin with. And dropping the tax on the the combustible side of this on cigarettes, I think really kind of highlights where we're at right now.
The absurdity.
Yeah. I mean,
I think asinine is the word I used in the
the
blog post.
That is the appropriate word.
And I wanted to mention too, Kristin is the one that coined our term Build Back Smoking Act. And I think that's exactly, it just nails it right on the head, because if we raise all these taxes up, and Alex has done this math, not only is that upfront cost already steep for a lot of people who are low income, who we know are the vast majority of people who smoke, that upfront cost dissuades them already. With these if these taxes go forward, that upfront cost skyrockets. So the only people who would be able to afford these products, well, not the only people, but the majority of people who would be able to afford these products would be your affluent, white, maybe suburban, whatever, folks. Yeah, it's absolutely, this absolutely goes into, social justice and Biden saying that we're not raising taxes on people who make under $400,000 a year. Well, people who smoke, most of them make under $400,000 a year. So if they were trying to quit in that process or looking to quit via these products, directly affects them.
I do.
I'm a lot of women. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to jump in and address the question on the screen. From Kithrin.
No, right. It doesn't in any way, because those are pharmaceutical products.
Well, let them read the question.
Yes.
Sorry.
Are NRTs also being included in this tax, because there is nicotine, those NRTs in those NRTs. Also, the R stands for replacement, not removal. As Logan was saying, well, the T in that one stands for therapy. And so NRT has gone through a completely different authorization or approvals process and is considered a therapy. And so there is no additional tax added to this.
Right. They're not considered a tobacco product.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was going to say something and I forgot what it was.
Yeah, I just
what did you finish on? You finished on
I'm sorry.
I started to say something and I totally forgot.
That's okay.
Because we're talking about whether or not this should be taxed.
My train derails all the time.
Income.
Yeah, this is just absolutely absurd, though. Taxing these products is, I mean, not only do we have already a plethora of issues right now going on as far as flavor bans and all sorts of stuff as well, which is already discouraging to a lot of people. On top of the misinformation that's out there, on top of everything else, this just feels like, you know, one extra nail in the coffin to deny people the human right to harm reduction.
Yeah, it seems incredibly hypocritical too, because many of these same people want to see everything banned. So
bans alongside heavy taxes is one of those things where,
because why are you asking for this huge tax if you think your flavor bans are going to work? If you think that all these products are going to be disappeared, if you're complaining that the FDA had the audacity to follow congressional orders and approve a product that is appropriate for the protection of public health, public safety, public health, whatever, authorized, sorry. You know what? You know, the general public's looking at it as approval. So, you know, but anyhow, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, how can you say that you need to ban all these products, but then pass a tax, which clearly says you don't expect these products to be banned? That clearly says that you're going to make a whole lot of money out of it.
I take it as like the plan B, like, right, if these products do receive approval, they're at least resting on the idea that they will be heavily taxed enough to dissuade people from using them.
Absolutely. But the thing is that they've got estimates. They've got, they're already counting on, you know what I'm saying? It's still pretty dodgy to me, because it's like, okay, maybe this is a backup plan, but you're still planning on making money off of this. You're still expecting X number of units or whatever to be sold, because you got an estimate of how much you're going to rake in with this, which this is one of the things that really ticked me off when it came up, because they essentially took, because they're estimating, what was it, $10 million? I want to say, or 10 billion, billion. Wait, hold on.
There's a big difference between the two.
Yes, there is. I'm sorry. Hold on. There definitely is. The lost revenue, super rich. Okay, so that's the 6 million. Where is that? Hold on. It's here. Because I thought they said it was 8.
I'm always taken aback by the idea of heavy taxes.
Billion.
How do I want to say this? I think of like cannabis, right? Cannabis legalization, and in some places that's getting better, but right out of the gate was very, very heavily taxed. And the states that went this route, were claiming they were going to make all of this money off these huge taxes. They were going to get all this revenue, but then no one can afford it. So no one buys the product. So you don't get the tax money.
Right. And then you get a black market.
You see continued illicit markets because it's just cheaper, and we've been doing it for forever.
Hence why California got hit by
the only people that can afford to shop again through those heavily taxed products are typically your affluent whites, and it just doesn't raise this revenue that they claim it's going to raise. If people can't afford to buy the product, you don't get the taxes off of it. And I don't get where that cognitive dissonance is for lawmakers, or whether or not they just don't understand working class folks and what we can and can't afford. But if you were to have smaller, or no, which would be great, but smaller reasonable taxes on things, you would have more people who can buy those products, who can afford those products, thus raising more revenue. If you heavily tax something, say, something costs $17 and only one person can buy it, cool, you got $17. But if, well, that's not how taxes work. I know it's just a really terrible analogy. But if it's $2 and more people can buy it, 100 people can buy it, cool, you made $200. That's the more affordable things are with a reasonable tax, the more revenue somebody can, the more revenue they can get out of it. So these absurd taxes, really, I just take it as a plan B. That's ultimately how I see this. Is if these products make it through, then they can fall back on the taxes dissuading people.
But this right here says it's not just a plan B. I mean, they essentially, you know, and granted, this is their opinion that they amended to protect tax avoidance schemes used by the ultra wealthy in their estate planning, and then replaced it with the nicotine tax, or kept the nicotine tax. They may not have been aware that it was there, and got rid of the tobacco product, other tobacco products, everything else, got rid of that tax. But here's the thing. This is pretty much, if you take away this loophole, I can hear myself coming, but if you take away this loophole, that's pretty much, they know the money's there. And that's almost like a guaranteed 8 billion. Sorry, it was billion. 8 billion in revenue for the federal government over 10 years. Okay. If they even admit the amount is modest relative to the size of the whole Build Back Smoking Act. But it was targeted at a small handful of the country's wealthiest families. Okay. The new bill basically hits every person who smokes and vapes, because it's hitting the people who smoke in a way that they're not going to want to change over. So it does affect them, but it really hits all these people who quit smoking. And that's an uncertain tax. So they went from getting 8 billion, pretty much, they know the money's there and they're going to get that now, to, okay, now they might get 10 billion if people can afford to keep paying the tax, and they go back to smoking because their flavors are gone. They can't get anything through the mail, all that other stuff. I mean, it's a business they're watching. How could they not know it's being decimated?
Sure. Right. And the plan C is people going back to smoking. Right. So if they don't end up getting this tax revenue out of the vapor products and pouches and other new nicotine products, if they don't get that, they can at least fall back on people who can't afford those products to either continue to smoke or go back.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's a plan B. I think it's just yet another way to, first of all, the fact that they swapped it for this estate planning thing that was more of a slam dunk, that they could have gotten that money to, okay, no, we're going to put all of our, eggs in this basket over here with this nicotine tax, that they're trying to ban all the flavors, that they stopped allowing that they're banning on state level all over the place, that's just being attacked and is just being decimated. We're going to put all our eggs in that basket. It's just not, it may be that people might go back to smoking, and no, there's not going to be any black market. And I mean, it's just some shenanigans went on there. Why would they give up something that seemed a little more certain for this mess of the vaping industry?
I think, maybe another angle here, and I would expect something that was certainly brought up in talks about raising the tobacco taxes and enacting a nicotine tax, is the number that is often cited, and I forget the numbers, but it's something like a 10% rise in cigarette taxes results in a 1 or 2% decline in smoking prevalence, right, something like that. And so you can translate that into money saved by people not ending up in the hospital and diseases. But I mean, we all know, or we all should know that is also nonsense. It's kind of a wash, because people who smoke don't live long enough to collect Social Security or be a burden on these things, right, and so on. So the actual economic side of this doesn't really balance out, but that is a catchy bumper sticker kind of talking point, and this is part of the Social Security infrastructure, or social safety net aspect of the Build Back Better plan. So whether or not they're collecting money, they can still sell this on discouraging nicotine use, which in the minds of most people now in the United States is just as harmful as smoking. And so I'm sure that they have found a way to justify this either in collecting revenue or discouraging nicotine use. And they get you coming and going.
But we're not discouraging smoking.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
They need to kill more people off because they have to pay for all these social programs.
Yeah. Yeah. Dead smokers don't require the social safety net. So
there'll be less people they have to pay budget for.
They're not going to say that on MSNBC, but
you don't think so?
That does have to be part of the calculation.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, what a mess.
Well,
that's about as deep as we can go into that dive today.
I know that
rapidly approaching our.
I know that people are tired. I know that people are tired of hearing this garbage, and I'm with you. We're all kind of worn out by all of the misinformation and lies and campaigning against, products that we all know from experience have helped us stop smoking and have improved our health. Our doctors know it. There are politicians that know it. There are public health experts that know it. Even people working at Center for Tobacco Products know it. And so, yes, we are all tired, but it is vitally important that people take action on this. Again, if you haven't, take action now. Reach out, make contact with your lawmakers and tell them to oppose this absolutely ridiculous and dangerous tax proposal. And you can do that on our call to action.
Yes, our call to action. Again, I'll put a link in the.
I was just going to ask if you could drop a link to that one more time.
Well, I'll put a link in the description box. It's kind of late in the show anyhow, but everybody else.
Well, anybody who hasn't done it, right after we wrap this up, if Kristin does want to go ahead and drop that in the chat one more time, it'll be right there. Please, if you haven't done this call to action yet, do it. Leave the stream now and do it. Go if you haven't done it yet. I don't know, just. Leave and go do it.
We've been tweeting it, and we're going to keep tweeting it every day. I mean, it's just, and like I said in my tweet of it, don't count on somebody else doing it. And please, if you can, don't just do it yourself. I mean, first of all, do it yourself if you haven't. I'm going to assume that everybody who's in this group, in this chat right now, has already done it. I'd be surprised if they haven't, but make sure that you put your story in there. I had to delete some of the CASAA pre-filled stuff so I could fit my story in because, I like to talk. So just do that yourself if you have to. It's really important that they see consumers. They really need to know in their minds. It's all, this is just big business. This is just big tobacco. They're the only ones who don't want to see this stuff passed. It's just big tobacco and big vape, whatever that is. They need to hear from you as a person. Plus, getting different emails that don't start all the same is also a good thing. I'm trying to get the link here.
I feel like that's a point that I highlight all the time, but I'm going to do it one more time. Please, with these emails, share your story. We obviously encourage you. Please share your story, but the best place to put your story in the CASAA email is above the pre-written stuff. You can keep the pre-written stuff in there or delete some or all of it to make room for your story, like Kristin said. But having your story up front individualizes that. Right. If everybody just sent the pre-written email, eventually after so many, the algorithm in the email, whatever server, is going to start flagging those as spam. But if they are individualized and you have your story in there, more of those, hopefully all of those, actually get to the inbox they need to get to. So please put it above the story. If you put it at the bottom, put it at the top. Don't put it at the bottom. Put it at the top.
Yeah, put it at the top. And the other thing I was going to say is please share that. Share that link. Put it in your Reddit groups, on your personal Facebook page, even if you try to keep it separate. Like normally I don't do a lot on my Facebook page with advocacy stuff. I even put this on there and I tagged everybody I knew who vaped or smoked in the post. I just shared it from the official CASAA Facebook page onto my page and tagged everybody I knew who vaped or smoked. Even dropped it on my brother's right on his page, and he did it. Normally he probably wouldn't have done it, and he did it. So
my mom, who doesn't smoke or vape or use nicotine in any fashion, has already done this call to action.
Yeah. So vape shops in your local area, if they've got a Facebook page, if they've got a Twitter account that you can tag in the Twitter account, any vape groups that are in your area, obviously any family or friends who know what you do and know how important it is to you, ask them to put in there and tell them, just say, my son, my brother, my cousin, whatever, quit with this, don't tax it. Get it out there. This is the grassroots parts folks. This is the parts where we really need you to disseminate, get it out there, get everybody, let everybody else know it, because those are the people that we can't reach. We can only reach you. You're the first stop, and then it's got to spread from there, and then tell those people to share it. So, and you guys come every week. A lot of you, we see your great faces every week, or on your little faces there, the
little icons.
And so it's those people that we're really counting on to just get that message out there and keep pushing it further from that original. Get it out of the bubble. We need to get it out of the bubble.
Share it on every social media. Share it on Twitter, your Facebook. Put it in your Snap story. Put it all over the place. Send it to random phone numbers. I know I always say that. It's more of a joke than anything, but I mean, if you are.
What we should do? We need to upload our music from our video to TikTok, and then they can do TikTok dance too.
Yeah, put it out on TikTok. I don't tick or talk, so I always forget about TikTok until I randomly see one of the funny ones on Twitter or something. But yeah, share this literally everywhere, and please encourage your friends, your family. Like I said, my mom has done this call to action already. She doesn't smoke, she doesn't vape, she doesn't use nicotine in any way. My stepdad has done this as well. My family members who don't use these products are doing this call to action. So it doesn't just have to be your circle of vapors or people that vape or use pouches or something like that. Like, share this all around. Please ask your family, ask your friends to do this, because these products have helped us. And attacks like this is dangerous and detrimental. So we definitely need everybody involved. All right. We're at that 6 o'clock East Coast time. Was that, what were you guys at 3 over on that other coast? 3 o'clock. All right. I think this is where we're going to wrap it up, everybody. This is a great place and a great time to do so. So thank you, everybody who showed up and tuned in today. And for everybody on the replay crew, thank you for stopping by and tuning in and checking everything out. For podcast listeners, there will be 2 versions of this available. There'll be a quick shorthand version of just the legislative rundown stuff. And then there'll also be a full version for you to tune into as well. And please share those around. We've been getting a few more listens on the podcast. So thank you, podcast listeners, for tuning in and sharing that as well. Again, if you're not a member of CASAA, please do so. It's absolutely free to become a member and sign up for literally everything. You can check out the blog, get involved. There's a place to find your legislators, which we also encourage people to do with this current call to action. Go on the legislator lookup right on CASAA.org. Maybe while I'm wrapping things up, Alex can show everybody where that is really quick. I know we've done it a few times in the past, but for anybody new, or if you're not familiar with the website, so please do that as well. If you haven't submitted a testimony, please, we would absolutely love to have your story on the page for everybody. You can do that here as well. Alex, there's the testimonials button. And then Alex will also pull up the legislator lookup as well. Other than that, everybody, just thank you again for tuning in. Thank you if you've done this call to action. It doesn't have to be a one and done thing. I've done it a few times now. I try to do it at least once a day if I can. So please go ahead, do it multiple times, share it everywhere.
Check out our shop too.
And check out our shop. Yeah, absolutely. I always forget about the shop. I have t-shirts and I forget about the shop. We have some merch. Yeah, check out the merch.
We don't get a lot from it, but you know what? Every little bit counts. So, and you get a cool design. Most of them that.
Yeah, we don't have those Bloomberg bucks over here at CASAA. So selling t-shirts and masks is a great way to help and support support us, support you, support advocacy, support everything that we do here. So one last time, thank you, everybody. Final thoughts real quick before we're out of here.
Nope, that's all I need to say.
That's it. Cool. All right.
We left it all on the field.
Left it all on the field. All right, everybody. Take care. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Be excellent to each other. We will be here next week, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. over there on the other side. And that's going to do it. Take us away, Kristin. No?